Kristen, Kyle, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having us. Come on. Just wrapping up our trip, 3 days. And the big takeaway here is I never travel any place just to see one person. So when you sales guys are out there traveling, you need to then try and find 1 or 2 or 3 other people to see. The commodity manager of Electrolux wanted me to text her. That was her preferred method of contact. She was getting 200 emails a day. She said, just text me. This was 5 years ago. I'm like, okay. Literally could get her every time.
What's up, guys? Kyle Milan here with Manufacturing Tribe TV. Today we're at MD&M Minneapolis show.
You're always going to remember that person that was different than everybody else. So let's talk standing out and being unique.
We're back with another episode. We've increased some of our production value, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. Brett's got a question. How segmented do you make the emails every 2 to 4 weeks? Are you sending to the broad group of contacts or do you customize? I think that you could do it both ways, but I think in general, everybody needs to see your content. Everybody needs to see something that you're creating and something that you can provide value to.
You can tell a story a whole lot faster in a 3-minute video than you can in a 14-page article or 10 2-page articles.
Everything's about brand awareness and content right now, and it will continue to be that. So focus on producing some sort of content, and if you're selling B2B, which I'm assuming most people here are, focus on LinkedIn.
Number one, we do not charge for this stuff. I put all of my content out there for free. Send it to somebody that you feel may get some value out of it, and also engage. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. We'll get to all of the comments after the break. Those comments mean the world to us because it shows that you guys care. So don't just sit there and watch, but please engage and hit those thumbs on LinkedIn. If you're an industrial or manufacturing company looking for a marketing partner that actually understands your business, then you found your match. For over 6 years, MFG Tribe has been working with companies just like yours to dominate in their industry by executing tactics that actually work today. No longer do you have to spend hours explaining what it is that your services or products do to people that just don't understand and don't know the first thing about how to sell or market to your industry. With over 40 years of industrial experience, our clients get the peace of mind that we not only understand their business, but how to reach their target customers. Our strategic approach of industrial marketing combines the tactics of website, SEO, content marketing with articles and videos, a strategic social approach on LinkedIn, and utilizing hyper-focused PPC and advertising campaigns. We create over 400 videos and over 350 articles each year for some of the top industrial brands and manufacturing services companies. Don't wait for customers to find you. Partner with MFG Tribe and begin dominating your industry today. What is up, guys? I'm Kyle Milan, and today is February 2nd, Wednesday. It is noon. It's time to talk about technical sales, industrial sales, technical sales engineer, and all stuff that you guys want to talk about. So on today's episode, have you been struggling with your solution-based sales or focusing on direct sales with potential customers? On this episode, I'm going to do a little bit of a twist and teach you exactly how to sell that solution better, faster, and more effective. And so let's get into it. As always, guys, leave comments in the comment section. We get to it once we're done with the bulk of the content. We answer any questions. It could be anything about technical sales. It doesn't have to be about this subject. We appreciate you guys sharing out this content, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, especially that LinkedIn audience. You know I love you guys. We see you coming in. Leave some comments, show us some love. It helps us out and helps us grow this brand. As always, we give away our content for free. So in turn, we're just asking for you guys to share it out there and spread the word. So on today's episodes, we're talking about like solution-based selling. Okay, so the mindset that you have to have, and the typical way that people are doing it, and the way that people have been doing it for years, is like, look, I've got these services. My company does X, Y, and Z. I can do these things for you. Here's our capabilities. Here's my line card. Here's my spec sheet. And it's basically like, do you want to buy from me? I mean, you guys probably see it on LinkedIn all the time. You connect with somebody, then you get a message. Hey, here's what we do. You want to buy? That stuff just does not work. And you guys need to stop doing it. There's a large group of people that have stopped doing it, but still probably a majority of people still think that it's just as simple as, you walk in to a company and you're doing your pitch and you're just doing that show up and throw up of here's all my information, here's what I could do for you, will you buy from me? You have to change that mindset. The mindset has to shift from a standpoint of you're not in there to just push your product, push your services and your capabilities, your tech and all that. You have to look for a solution and then solve that, or you have to look for the problem that they have and then solve it with your solution, but customize it to where it makes the person actually feel like you're trying to help them, that you're not just trying to sell them. So you have to get out of that mindset of just, here's my tech, here's my capabilities, buy from me. So an example would be something like we're an industrial marketing agency. When we talk to people, I could just be like, look, this is what we do, X, Y, and Z. We can help you guys out. I know we can. So let's talk about pricing. People get turned off by that. It just doesn't work. You guys have to stop doing that. And for you, those of you out there like, dude, I stopped doing that. I'm just running into problems with the solution side of it. We're going to talk about that today. But starting with the mindset and realizing like this just does not work anymore. It has to come from a valuable standpoint. You have to try and provide as much value as possible. Listen, ask questions, and understand it before you can say, this is what we do. So what is the end goal? The end goal that you're looking for is a signed contract, right? You're trying to bring in that customer. You're trying to solve their problem, get them to sign the contract. But how do you go about doing it? So if you go into it with the mentality that like, look, I'm trying to close a deal. I'm trying to boost my numbers up. I'm just looking to close the deal and get the revenue and get my commission and add another customer. That can come off. It may not come off like right away out of your mouth, but subconsciously you're just setting off this vibe like you don't really give two shits what they do. You're just trying to close them as a customer so you can move on. And you may not think that it comes off, but it does. People can read body language, they can read tone. Your approach has to be from the standpoint of like you're trying to help them, right? So if your end goal is solve their problem, then everything leading up to it has to be from that standpoint of I'm trying to create a solution to your problem and solve it with you together as a partner, instead of this approach of like, dude, I like my company does everything so good. I know that we can solve your problem. So let us just do it. And then skipping all the steps in between. So if your end goal is to close them as a customer, let's work backwards and talk about how are we going to get there and what steps are you going to take to get there. And if you're struggling with this, what things can you change today to make it more effective for you to get there? So the approach is going to be different, right? So like I said in the beginning, show up and throw up. That's something that I see all the time in technical sales. Salespeople that have a technical background, an engineering background, where they're comfortable is the technical stuff. So they want to go into the meeting, whether you're new or you've been doing this for 20 years, you guys are all the same for the most part. Like you guys all do this. There's a small percentage of people that don't do this, but I've talked to hundreds and thousands of salespeople in technical sales, and an overwhelming majority of them do this. They just come in and say, here's my presentation, slide 1. This is who we are. This is what we do. Here's some slides about our customers. Here's how we solve problems. Here's our capabilities, things like that. The whole time, the other people are just sitting there watching the screen, watching the TV, looking through the presentation that you have to them. And they're just not really as focused or committed until they get to the point. And you can tell them, like, if you have any questions, this is not a lecture. Please feel free to ask questions. Like I did that in my early years. I used to say, please feel free to stop me and ask any questions you guys have as I go through this content. But it's just like the eyes would glaze over and they just be flipping through it. It's just like almost on autopilot, right? And you're not really getting engagement from them. And that's what a majority of you guys do. And you have to stop doing that because it's not going to get their buy-in and they're not going to feel and be receptive to it if you don't start them off from the beginning off the right foot. So one approach can be, I hate doing presentations. I think that they're a waste of time. I'd rather talk through a problem. And if you want to show things on the screen, that's great. But I'd rather talk through and work with somebody on the problem to really understand what is the problem they're having and then customize the solution based on what they're saying. So the approach needs to be something like, hey, look, what are the top 3 things that you guys are having issues with right now in your supply chain, at your company, with your software, whatever it is that you're selling? Sculpt your questions around what it is that you do, but asking them to give you information, because that's what you're looking to do. When people talk to me, if they're the first thing we want to ask is, what are you currently doing? And if they're like, oh, I'm doing all 5 of these things, and I'll say, what's the one thing that's holding you back from getting to your growth goal that you're trying to do? If they say, I don't know where to go, okay, well, I could tell you what we've seen work, right? And we could kind of lead the conversation and say, these are some tactics that we've seen work. But if they say, really what we need help with is our branding on social, is our content marketing with articles and videos, then I'm going to sculpt the conversation, starting with solving that problem with that as the key aspect. So I'm going to start there and say, okay, content marketing, here's how we do it. These are the benefits of doing it. You already know that you need to do it. Let me show you how we do it and the way that we do it differently. Then I'm going to say, follow up to that is, once we create the content, how are we going to distribute it? I know that you have resources internal that do this on a daily basis, but do they really do it well? Is this their main focus? Is this all that they do? Do they have the resources or the bandwidth to do this every single day? And so this is why we should do this for you. And then I start building out the proposal, building out the solution bigger in their mind to what the simple problem is that they had. So if they're saying like, our efficiency is down, we need to increase our efficiency because our customers are getting pissed off, or our operations is running slowly, or we've got too many rejects, or we've got this new project and we don't have the resources available. Focus on solving that first. That needs to be the approach. Start with that as the main subject of the conversation. And you can sculpt everything else behind it. And you can talk about things that you can add on. I'm not talking about doing like upsells and things like that, but you can talk about, once we solve that problem, things that would partner with that, or other areas that you might have issues with could be this. Or then ask them, after that problem's solved, what's the next thing on your list that's going to become a headache for you? What's the top 5 issues you're having with on a daily basis? What are 3 things that pull your attention away from what you're doing, or that are hindering your growth in your job, or issues that you have? Like, you're there to solve a problem, right? That's the only reason why they called you there. They didn't just call you there to say, hey, look, I've got, $150,000 I just want to spend. So I brought you in to see if you can spend it for me. That's not what it is. They have a problem. You have to focus only originally on the solution to that problem. Forget about trying to land them as a whale customer. Forget about trying to offer them everything that you have, but just create the solution in a way that it solves a problem. I know that it sounds so simple, right? And people may be like, dude, I already do that. But I bet you that if I audited you in a meeting, if I was there on a fly on a wall, or if I was sitting there next to you, you would not be doing that, because most people don't. Most people are just focusing on, I want to get all my information out because I don't know what the problem is. And maybe they don't have problems that they're telling me. And I want to make sure that they understand that we can solve all their problems. That's not what you're looking to do. Right? When you go to somebody to solve a problem, you're looking for them to focus on that first. Pay attention and make them understand that you are listening to what they're saying. People like to talk about themselves. People like to talk about their problems. So instead of being like this typical salesperson that comes in and is just like, I'm going to run this meeting, and I'm going to go through my presentation. I'm going to tell them everything that we do. And then they're going to tell me what they like from it, what they don't like, what they need, what they don't need. Instead of doing that, you need to go into it and flip the table and be like, hey, Joe, thanks for taking the time for me to come in here. Whether it's through video or in person, doesn't matter. Thanks for taking the time for us to come in and talk to you about your problem. Ask them the questions. You need to be asking more questions. And this is not the first call. This is not, only on the cold call. This is on meeting number 2, meeting number 3. Once you get into the root of it, they already qualified you and said, yes, you could probably solve my problem. They've probably already looked you up. So now you're in person. Now you're through video and you're face to face. And you're like, what are the top 2 issues that you're having with whatever it is that you're doing with your supply chain? And then just sit back and listen. Do not try and jump in the conversation. Say, yeah, we do that. Or yeah, we did that for a customer. Just sit back and listen. Let them talk. If anybody gets on a discovery call with us, then usually a majority of the 30 minutes of the discovery call is them talking about their issues, their problems, their current setup, all those things. Then we step in and say, okay, I appreciate you sharing that information with you. So we've seen that same issue with these other customers in this other industry, or on a daily basis. What you're saying is something that's extremely common. Make them feel like they're not the only person out there that has this problem. So on a regular basis, I speak to people with that efficiency issue, or with the issue of implementing automation or robotics, or with the machine issue of parts supply and service, whatever it is, right? I talk to people all the time about that, and they say the same thing that you guys have, the same issue. And so what we've developed over the last 5 years is we've got local resources to be able to provide them with parts faster. We compete with a competitor that typically has an 8-week lead time on parts. Like, those are the types of things that you should be saying to people, and ditch the presentation. You may be saying like, no, my boss, like, we got this. I work for a $2 billion a year company. We have to go through the presentation. No, you don't. You don't have to. I mean, if you show your boss that this works, if you can prove that this works, most of the time the bosses are only there for the first couple of weeks that you're on the job. And then maybe randomly they travel with you if you guys are traveling together. But for the most part, it's up to your discretion what you do and don't do. So you don't need to memorize the presentation. Don't go in there with the mindset of, I'm going to show up and throw up. Your approach needs to be from the standpoint like, look, I know for the most part what it is that we do, and problems that we can solve and solutions that we have. But what I'm looking to do in this conversation, like, I used to lead conversations all the time. Look, I can go through my presentation deck and I could show you everything that we do. But what I'm really interested in is, what is the main issues that you guys are having? So I just wanted to have a conversation first to start. And if we need to, I can pull up examples and show you the presentation that I have. But what I'm really looking to do is get to the root cause of your problems to see how can we customize a solution for you. Like, watch this video on replay, use those same words, come up with your own words to it. But that needs to be the vibe that you have. You're looking to partner together. You're looking to come together and solve their problem and make them sleep easier at night. If you're selling to purchasing people, which I know most technical salespeople out there, you hate selling to purchasing people, right? You hate selling to commodity managers because all they care about is price. All they care about at the end of the day is how much money can they save on their supply chain, so they can get their bonus and whatever. I know that there's that stereotype out there. I've dealt with those commodity managers and supply chain managers that's all that they care about. But keep in mind, there can only be one lowest, cheapest company out there, right? Don't chase companies that are looking to pinch pennies and move business based on pinching pennies. But at the end of the day, they have a problem, right? If they say my biggest issue is cost right now, okay, and I'm looking to reduce my supply chain by 2%, and that total, and then you ask them, well, what does 2% reduction look like? Well, that's $1.6 billion or $1.6 million or $150,000. That's what I'm looking to save. When you ask those questions, you may not want to do business with those people, right? Because then in a year, once you're their supplier, they may just be shopping and be like, hey, I need to reduce another 2%. They come to you and they're looking for a kickback. They want 2% reduction, or I'm going to shop the business. You don't want to be in those relationships. There's tons of people out there that'll chase pennies. Let them chase them, and tell your bosses that you're not going to chase pennies. But you need to start it with the solution and get to the root cause of it, because once they start talking, everything opens up. And keep them talking. Ask follow-up questions. It's all about them at the end of the day. On that initial conversation, it's all about that. Now, once you develop the solution and you have this proposal and you have the solution in mind, then you can start going through a presentation on how you guys are going to specifically solve that problem. And if there's other solutions that you have that complement that, then you need to present those too. But during that initial conversation with them, ask them, okay, so once we solve that, what then do we focus on? Or, I've seen these other issues with customers. Do you guys have these issues? Like, you talked about efficiency, throughput, or machinery, or whatever, or parts, service, supply chain, whatever. Do you have these other issues that deal with customer service or service people coming out, or a long lead time on replacement parts, or whatever it is? Do you guys have these other issues? Yes, we do. Well, can you explain to me, like, what type of issues are you guys having with that? Because I have customers that say the same thing, but I want to understand, what are your specific problems? What type of, issues do you guys have with that? And that's what it's all about. You need to make sure that you are asking the questions. Ask questions. Do not talk. This is not about you. All salespeople, they want to talk. They want to go in there. They want to show up and throw up and just get to the beef of it. It is not about you. Your approach needs to be that of a listener, right? Like, you have one mouth and two ears for a reason. Everybody always says that. You need to listen, and you need to stop just going in there trying to be a bull in a china shop and just throw up your information and then sit back and be like, all right, which one do you like that I threw up there? Which problem, solution do we have up there that you like to solve your problem? So let's talk about the result. The result of this is going to be a much more dynamic conversation with the potential person, right? With the prospect. It's going to be a collaborative approach. It's going to be strategic. It's going to be a partnership. It's not going to be you just sitting there spewing information on them and telling them to pick from the list. And people really do, at the end of the day, people just want a partnership. Like, that commodity manager wants you, or that operations person, they want you to make their job easier at the end of the day. They want to be sure that you've got their back because they're getting pressure from upper management. They want to make sure that you're willing to get into the trenches with them and work through this. They want to make sure that when they come to you with a favor, that you will deliver on that favor and you won't beat them up on price about it. That's what everybody wants at the end of the day, regardless if they're in purchasing or not, right? Like everybody hates those purchasing people. I've been there before because you think all they care about is one thing. And maybe some of them do. Maybe a lot of them do. But if you can develop a solution, I bet you that you can increase your price, right? Like if you're willing to solve their problem for you, it's got to be worth something. But that's going to be the result is you're forming this partnership, this bond, this collaborative approach, and it's strategic. And you want to make sure that you go into it with that type of mindset. I want to partner with this dude. I want to save them money. I want to save them, headaches. I'm looking to solve your problem. You can walk into me and be like, look, the reason why I'm here is to solve your problems and make sure that your bosses are not beating you over the head with these issues every single day and asking you, where's the solution? That's my job, is I want to be that buffer between upper management and you, and I'll answer any question that they have, and I will protect you and defend your decisions and your positions if you partner with us. That's the type of language that you need to go after. And if you're not, most of you aren't, you need to change it now and share this with people that you know that need to hear that the way that you're doing it, dude, just sucks. You may get sales, you may increase revenue, you may get business, you may be the top performer in your area with the approach that you're going down and the way that you've been doing it. But guess what? There's going to come a time when you're not, and you're going to wish that you would have implemented these methods and this way of doing it way sooner. So with that, guys, we're going to take a short break and we're going to go into the comments and answer any questions that you guys have. We'll be right back. Dream job for a sales engineer, I break it down into two main areas, opportunity and support. I mean, some people want to have the entire country or entire region under their belt to be able to travel and do all that stuff. Whereas other people, if they've got family and kids and they don't want to travel as much, then maybe the opportunity for them is working remote, not going into the office every day. And the second thing is going to be support. One of the most golden handcuffs for anybody in technical sales, they get brought in as a hunter. So they're hired like, I need you to hunt for business. I want you to grow my company, grow my region, whatever it is, right? They land the new business, they bring it in. And because you don't have the support team in place, you have now just put on the golden handcuffs onto a salesperson, which is you did your job, you're getting paid for that job. But now I need you to actually handle that, which is going to take you away from hunting for more business. I would say the best CRM for you to use would be HubSpot. And I'm not saying that because we are a partner with them. I'm saying that because I've used almost every single type of CRM out there. What it comes down to at the end of the day is what are your people actually going to use? You can have the best CRM system, but if they don't use it, it doesn't matter. I mean, HubSpot's cheap. You can get into it for $50 a month. And it does everything you need it to do for $50 a month. You don't have to go to the marketing professional at $800 or $850 a month. I think too often industrial companies are using Salesforce. And like I've said in other episodes, Salesforce is more of an enterprise solution. It's not something that's great for like 5 people, but HubSpot's the easiest to use, easiest to integrate, and it can grow with you as you grow. For sales, working with estimating, yes. If you're just getting started, if you have a small company, I could see you doing all that. The line I wouldn't want to have to cross is doing the sales, doing the estimating, and then also creating whatever it is. When I started this agency 6 years ago, I was literally doing everything. I didn't have my first employee or help for probably 6 to 9 months. So I was building the web, doing all the sales, running the business, doing all the project management. I did it all myself.
And so eventually start getting people under you to take pieces of your responsibility off of your plate so you can look at bigger picture. That's usually the way to grow and scale a company. So I would say if your company is small, yes, that is normal. But I would want to try and make sure that there's a plan in place with the ownership or the bosses to make sure that that's not the long-term path that you're going to go down.
All right, guys, we're back. We're going to go through these comments one at a time. A lot of times people, you don't want to ask a question because you don't want people to know that you're asking a question, or you don't want your bosses to see. That's cool. A lot of times also, so other people have the questions and they ask them and you can just sit there and listen. If you want to send direct messages to me and ask a question privately, feel free to do that. So Nick, bring us into the first question. Eddie Saunders Jr., you say feel free to ask questions at any point. And if you don't ask questions, I'll assume I'm crushing it or that you hate me. Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, you could always got to chuckle. Yeah, dude, that's one way to do it. You can certainly do that. I would say, like, it's tough. It's tough to not just go and be like, let me go through my presentation. It's a tough thing to do because a lot of times they expect that. But that's what you need to do is change the mindset and be like, look, I'm going to go through the presentation. Make your presentation more like uh like a keynote event where it's just like 2 words. The last presentation that I gave at a company I worked at, I literally ripped apart the whole presentation and there was like 20 slides and I just put like an image up there or 2 words or 4 words, and that's it. And then I would talk through it to where it's like they see that, but I want your eyes and your attention on me and what I'm talking about and not reading what's on the screen. Brett, great advice. I'm hosting my first lunch and learn with my director of sales as co-pilot in a few weeks. It's with a nationwide engineering firm based in Dallas. What's up, Dallas? And I can already see the benefit of framing the conversation around what are the problems, challenges you're having now. Yeah, Brett, exactly. That's what you need to do. I mean, you can go into it with like something, right? Like it's when we do these shows every single week, we go into it with a topic, right? Because otherwise I'm not just going to sit here and be like, guys, what do you want to hear about? Right? What are problems you're having? Because then I'm relying on people to comment. But that's different. In a meeting, you can go into it and say, these are some things that were issues that we see all the time, or ask the question, guys, like, I want to know, raise your hand if, like, get participation, raise your hand if you have this issue. And if the whole audience or half of them raise their hand, talk about that issue and how you solve it. Mitch DeHaan, what's up, Mitch? Thank you for the comment, brother. With solution-based selling, a lot of companies have their own engineers on staff who provide solutions through their design, and they bring us in to merely provide the equipment they need. Is it safe to say that solution-based selling isn't always needed? I would say for the most part, it is needed. So in that example, right, they've already designed it. They're bringing you in just to provide the equipment, right? And so I would still go back and be like, look, it looks like your engineers developed exactly what they need. They've spec'd out, they've created the print of what they need, and we're here to solve that problem. But let's go back to make sure that this solution, the way that you guys are doing it, is going to solve the problem. So can we rewind back just to bring me in the loop and understand why you guys went with this solution? Can you just really quickly, let's just spend 10 minutes talking about the original problem that you guys have, because we talk to a lot of companies like yours and they bring us in to solve the problem, but maybe they don't think about something that we see. And since we do this with a lot of different companies, then we may have a solution to something that hasn't even been brought up yet because you didn't think of it or because it wasn't in the scope of this project. So just asking them to rewind back a little bit. I completely understand that. Back in my day when we used to be in plastics, right? Like they would have a specific plastic material on the print. That's the material that you had to use. That's material you had to get pricing for. But still, what I would do is I would be like, look, we currently purchase that material through the supplier. Let's say it's like M Holland or Poly One or somebody like that. And I noticed that you guys have that spec'd out on the print, and we're going to price that to you. But have you guys ever considered an alternative to that material? Because we have a supplier that directly competes with that product that provides better strength, higher resistance to heat, whatever it is. And would you be open to us also providing pricing for that? And 9 times out of 10, they'd be like, yeah, we would like to see price on that, because it just so happens that we are looking to reduce our total supply chain costs for that product line. Right. So go into it and just ask the questions. But I completely agree with you that the mindset would be like, they already got the solution. They've already spent the engineering time to develop it, but still go in and ask them to rewind to see how do they get to that solution. Juan Antonio says, I like this approach to customer. All right, man. I want to see you start doing it. Okay. Start doing it today. JW Jones, I've always thought to frame the question to clients as challenges. Yep, exactly, JW. But given what I'm seeing and hearing today, I really feel like saying, what problems are you having is more accurate. Is this too aggressive, negative in a way to frame this conversation starter? I don't think that it is. I mean, right? Like a challenge, like that's a positive spin on a problem, right? But at the end of the day, it's a problem, right? It's a challenge, but it's a problem. You can just, I don't think it's negative to be like, hey, what's the biggest issue? What's the biggest problem? You could say challenge. What's the biggest challenge that you're having today? What's a challenge that you have? I mean, you can, I feel like picking the right word doesn't really matter, but if you go into it like and just like I just look at things so simplistically and I just say it's a problem. You have a problem. You brought me in to fix your problem. Let's call a spade a spade. So I like that approach, but if your vibe is more like let's talk about challenges, that's fine. I feel like that's a little bit more fluffy. That's not the way that I talk and naturally. And so if I said challenge, it might come off subconsciously as a little bit forced. I just say problem because that's me. But I'm glad that you're at least open to it, man. JW, responding to Mitch. Feel like you should always be approaching these projects from a solution-based selling approach. It always leaves you in a neutral position. Yeah. And so the thing with JW is like his issue is like that of like they like you got to be careful because you don't want to come off as an a-hole, right? You don't want to come off as this person that like I know, like especially if in his situation he's talking to the engineering manager or the person that helped on the team to develop the solution. You don't want to come in and be like, you guys don't know what you're doing. This is what I do. So you got to be kind of careful. You got to toe that line, be on both sides of the fence and just be like, look, I appreciate that you guys did all the work for me, right? It saves us a ton of time, but I want to make sure that you guys didn't forget something because we do this all the time, right? And you don't need to go and be like, I don't want to come off as being aggressive or abrasive or like you guys don't know. You don't need to say that. Okay. It goes without saying. But just go into it and just be like, I'm not trying to piss you off and make you seem like you don't know what you're doing, but can you please tell me how you got to that solution? That's essentially what you're saying, but just word it nicer so that way you can try what you're trying to do is protect them from making a mistake, right? If you go into it with that mindset of like, I'm trying to protect you, don't say that. But if you go into that with that mindset of I'm trying to make sure that you guys didn't forget anything. Anybody in the parts manufacturing world, you know that like engineers design parts, right? And then they go through the DFM, the design for manufacturability process, to make sure that the part that they design can actually be made efficiently. And guess what? Every machine shop, injection molder, corrugated house, automation company, whatever it is, go in and make sure that they then look at that part and they're not trying to piss off the design engineer that designed it, whether he's been doing it for 12 years or 12 months. They're just trying to say, we got a lot of experience doing this. So let us just take a quick look at it to see, can we make it a little bit more efficient? Can we make it a little bit stronger? Can we reduce the amount of setups or processes that we have to do by combining parts together? If you have two parts that are part of an assembly, what can we do to one part to make it easier for the other part to assemble? You're going into it from a standpoint of trying to protect them. That's the vibe that you need to have. Brett, in my experience, being a good partner for customers is 100% a function of being seen as an expert resource for them. The best way I've been able to show expertise is by asking good questions along the way. Best advice I've had on this is in Chris Voss's book, Never Split the Difference. Brett, I appreciate that comment. I've not read that book, but yes, like people know that you know what you're talking about when you ask specific strategic questions, right? And the best response to that I've seen when we work with companies is nobody's ever asked me that. Like if nobody's ever told us that we should do that. So like when we talk to companies, they're like, yeah, we've got all these agencies and that they're telling us, focus on social too. So they're going to manage our Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And I'm like, dude, don't waste time with Facebook or Twitter. Definitely don't waste time with Twitter. Facebook is for employees. You can do hiring stuff there, but only thing you need to focus on is LinkedIn. Oh, nobody else has told me that. Well, yeah, because they don't work with industrial companies every day like we do. So like giving up information, asking questions strategically will make you come off as the expert. I 100% agree with that, Brett. I think everybody in this live would agree with that as well. Mitch, JW Jones, I would agree with that on a case-by-case basis. Let's go, man. We got a feud. However, I found that it can come off offensive to the customer if they've already done the work. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly like you probably left that comment before I got to that comment. But that's exactly what I'm saying. You can come off as an a-hole if you're not strategic with your words. So you kind of got to tiptoe around. You also have to read the room and read the vibe, right? Like if they're like, we're the smartest engineer, we graduated from these universities, like nobody could beat us as an engineer. You don't want to come in and be like, okay, well, you probably forgot something, but you can still try without pissing them off by being strategic with the words that you use and just being like, look, I just want to make sure that you didn't forget anything. I want to make sure that like we have a customer in your space that came to us with a design and we were able to add this other piece of equipment that saved them efficiency down the road. Come with a case study or some example, even if it's not specific to their industry, just come with it and say that's specific to the industry that you helped another person with that exact same issue. Franklin, hi, you're doing a good job. Thanks, brother. I like the solution-based selling approach. However, what if they don't currently have a problem with a process or system? Will the approach still be effective? If they don't have a problem, man, you can't solve it, right? So if you go into a sales call and you're like, hey, I want to talk to you about X, Y, and Z. Do you guys have any issues with it? They're like, nope. Guess what? You're never going to be able to convince them. That's calling don't sell the unsellable. You cannot sell them if they don't have a problem. Now, if they may not realize that they have a problem because they're just not involved enough to understand it, then you could still go down the path and see if they have a problem. But if they don't have a problem, then they don't need what it is that you do. Now, let's say something like back office software, right? Software guys that are selling like we're gonna outsource your, I get these pitches all the time, outsource your accounting, outsource your HR, like we'll save you time and money. If they call me up and they're like, how much time or resources do you have on this area of your business? I'd answer them honestly and they'd be like, well, we've got this solution that can save you time. I don't need to save time. I don't have like there's no time being wasted there. Okay, we can save you money. Nope, I don't spend any money there that's not well spent, so I don't need it. They will never sell me on it ever. So if you call somebody and they're like, we don't know that, maybe you're not talking to the right person, right? You could think about it from that standpoint. If you ask them if this is an issue or what are their issues, they may be saying like, no, we don't have any problem with that. You might be talking to the wrong person. So make sure you're talking to the right person. Make sure you're talking to the right department. And if they don't have a problem, dude, you can't sell it. You can't solve it. And it is a waste of time and you'll be beating your head against the door. Even if for some magical way that they're like, yeah, I guess that could be a problem. Why don't you send me a proposal and I'll take a look at it? Guess what you're going to be stuck with? Following up with somebody that never had an intention to buy and never had an intention to actually like listen or read what it is that you sent them. So then you're just doing proposals for no reason. So you need to be protective over that to where it's like we have calls all the time. People call us all the time. They talk to Greta, they talk to me. We go through a discovery process. Right in the discovery process, I can know, are they going to be a customer or not? Or do they have a potential to be a customer or not based on that conversation? And I will not have us waste our time talking to somebody, helping somebody that isn't going to be a customer at the end of the day. Because they don't have the problem. They don't see the value in it. That's the other thing. If you pitch your problem, like if you just pitch it from the standpoint, like, here's what we can do, and they don't see the value in it, they will not spend any money. Because you spend money when you see value, right? You exchange dollars for the value that person, that thing, that whatever it is going to provide to you. And as long as the value exceeds the dollars that you have, then it's a win-win. But you don't want to try sell somebody on value if they see no value in it. You definitely don't want to send them a proposal based on that. Brett, great book. Talks about asking how and what questions rather than why during discovery. Yeah, exactly. I will add that to my list, Brett. I read an insane amount of books, so I will add that to my list and check it out. Mary Andrews, I was hoping you'd answer that question the way you did. Don't sell, solve. Yeah, exactly, Mary. Don't sell, solve. Like, if you don't have a problem, you can't sell people on it. Like, if they don't have a problem, you don't have a solution if there's no problem. Step one, they have to have a problem. Step two, your solution has to solve their problem. Step three, they must value your solution more than the dollars that you're charging them for it. It's that simple. It does not matter if it is a $1.6 million piece of equipment for your production floor. It doesn't matter if it's a $49.99 subscription to software, some SaaS product that's going to solve issues that you have, make you more efficient, organize the team, whatever it is. If you don't have a problem, they can't have a solution, and then there could be no value to the solution if it's not a problem. You'll value it at a value of 0. Juan Antonio, follow up. I had a customer that told me that they had no problem, but I provided examples of other customers, and finally they opened the door. Yeah, it can happen, dude. Like, I'm not saying that can never happen. I'm just saying it's not probable to happen. And if they open the door, can you eventually convince them that they have a problem and get them to open their eyes and get them to place value on your solution? Yes, you can. But in sales, it's all about numbers, right? Don't spend a lot of time on that person because it's going to take a lot of effort to convince them, right? There are unicorns out there where randomly that works. I would say for 95, 97% of the time, that does not work. And somebody's going to now jump in the comments and be like, dude, no, that works all the time for me. Yeah, maybe for your industry it does, but most likely it doesn't, right? Like we talk to people from all different industries, especially in the industrial manufacturing sector. Nobody knows or talks to more companies that we do as far as what makes them more money and how to get more attention on their brand. Nobody can come to with an approach that we're not already doing. Can people do it the same way or close to the same way we're doing it? Yeah. Can they do it cheaper than we're doing it? Yeah, but you can't touch the performance that we see. So I'm coming in from a standpoint of like most of the time, 95, 97, 98% of the time, that will not work. So do it, like approach it. But if they push back, don't chase them like the dog on the back of a meat truck. Like, don't think that that's going to be your one whale that's going to drive your revenue. You still need to focus on the majority of the time what works the best way and those people that are going to be receptive to your approach. Mike, you never want to market through a single channel. In some industries, one may be preferred, but you don't want to discount one over the other. Yeah, dude, random. Mike's like randomly throwing in some marketing stuff. I love it. Yeah, you don't want to market to one channel, right? You don't want to just focus on one area because guess what? Things change. And in the industries we work in, industrial manufacturing, things change every single day. And so you have to adjust and adapt based on what's working. That's 100%, Mike. You guys are keeping Nick busy today. Is that it, Nick? All right, we're going to take a quick break to answer any last questions that come in the last minute. We'll be back after this short break. All right, guys, we're back. I appreciate you guys sticking with me. We're going on now almost 45 minutes. I appreciate the engagement. These are the types of questions that bring up other questions, that bring up other solutions to things that weren't talked about. It gives us great content and it helps out people. Like, that's what it is at the end of the day. The question that you guys have might help out other people. We saw it in the comments, right? Somebody was like, I was hoping you're going to answer that. And I was hoping you're going to answer it this way. Exactly. So you guys on LinkedIn, on YouTube, answering or asking questions, it means the world to us and we appreciate it. And we hope that you guys get value out of this content, and we'll keep going for another few minutes as long as the comments come through. Brett had a comment, marketing question for new cold leads. What is your preferred cadence for following up via email, phone, and social? New cold leads. So number one, I would try and make the cold lead not a cold lead. by trying to connect with them on something like LinkedIn, right? Because then they know you. It's not necessarily cold. But if you haven't pitched to them before, you may still consider it cold. So I would say the cadence should be like once a week, right? One time a week, you follow up with them. Do not do it once every 2-3 days. Like I get so many emails. I feel like my email address is part of like the national Let's Pitch Kyle database, where it's like, hey, didn't see you didn't respond to my message 3 days ago, so I just wanted to follow up and nudge you to the top of the inbox. I've literally been pitched with every single type of template pitch that there possibly could be on LinkedIn with connection requests and on email. And if you do it too quickly, like put yourself in their shoes. They may have 100 emails a day, right? And so you're just getting lost in the shuffle. So I would give it a week, and I would just be real simple and to the point, like, hey, just following up to see if you saw my message below, or seeing if you have 10 minutes available this week. Let me know. I appreciate it. Something very simple to the point, not being like, all right, hey, here's our case study number 2 that I'm going to send you. Nobody wants unsolicited stuff, right? At the end of the day, nobody wants to be solicited to, but they certainly don't want it to be all the time, because marketers like us broke it, and like everybody else broke it years ago. Leon, what should I be focusing on as a new sales engineer in industrial automation? New sales engineer in industrial automation, what should you be focusing on is building your prospect list, right? People could say like learn the technology. I'm going to assume that you can learn the technology, the solution that you guys have, like pretty easily. Do that in your spare time after work, right? Learn about the solutions that you guys have, case studies, learn about industries you serve, things like that. You can answer any question that comes up that you don't know the answer to. You can just answer it and say, I think that we've done that before, but let me get back to you like tomorrow and get a real answer for you. So what you need to focus on is building out your network and your prospect list as big as possible and finding companies to sell to. And once you do that, you keep doing it every single day. Check out my YouTube channel, Leon. There's a video I did out there, which is like the weekly routine for sales engineers, and like the 2022 ways, or what is it, how to dominate in 2022. That video, those 2 videos will show you exactly what you need to be doing on a weekly basis. And it's just a rinse and repeat. The first thing though is most people will be like, you got to learn the product before you can sell it. You don't. I could tell you that you don't. You need to understand it a little bit, but you're just looking to have conversations with people and focus on solving their problem. And that's why you want to ask questions and talk less about what it is that you guys do. So I would say building the prospect list is number 1 hit list. Robert, can you please post a link of the recording for this meeting? I was not able to view all of it. Yeah, will do, Robert. So this, it should be on replay, right? As soon as this is done, it's going to say this event has ended, and you can replay it right away in LinkedIn. But LinkedIn kind of sucks with their streaming. They're like 5 years behind everybody. So the full video will be on YouTube. So after this is done, if you go to the YouTube channel, search Kyle Milan, subscribe to it, you'll be able to see the full live from start to finish on YouTube, and it will live and stay there. But we will grab that link and post it in response to you to that question. I appreciate it, man. What do we got, Nick? Anything? All right. Nick's telling me to wrap it up. So I hope that you guys got some value out of this topic for today's episode. And I hope that you guys can go to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, follow me on LinkedIn. Keep in mind, we come live to you 2 times a week, and we'll answer any questions that you guys have. And until the next one, we will see you guys later.